The Haelor Empire's Central Fleet Command erupted in celebration. Admiral Vorn stood proudly on the command deck as his officers congratulated each other on their swift and decisive action. The small, primitive probe that had drifted into their sovereign territory had been vaporized with a single well-placed shot from their forward cannons. "Excellent work," Vorn announced, his four eyes blinking in sequence, a sign of satisfaction among the Haelor. "Let that be a message to whoever sent it. The boundaries of the 12 systems are not to be violated." Lieutenant Trell approached with a data tablet. "Sir, preliminary analysis suggests the probe was unmanned, likely a scientific instrument from one of the lesser species in the Orion Arm." Vorn dismissed this with a flick of his secondary appendage. "Irrelevant. The law is clear. No unauthorized entry. The species should thank us for teaching them this lesson without bloodshed. If only they knew." 50 light-years away, in a nondescript solar system on the edge of what the Haelor Empire considered uncivilized space, Director Thomas More stared at the empty monitor where Voyager Xi's signal had been transmitting just moments before. Around him, the mission control room of United Earth Space Administration had fallen silent. "Confirmed signal loss," he said quietly. Anna, the mission's communications lead, tapped frantically at her console. "Confirmed, sir. Total signal dropout at 3:42 hours. No degradation pattern, just gone." Moore ran a hand through his gray hair. "Could it be equipment failure on our end?" "Negative," replied James, the systems engineer. "All receiving stations worldwide report the same. Something happened to Voyager." Voyager Xi was humanity's most advanced deep space probe, equipped with revolutionary propulsion that had allowed it to travel farther than any previous human-made object. After centuries of slowly exploring their solar system, humanity had finally developed the technology to reach nearby stars within a single human lifetime. Voyager Xi represented 5 decades of scientific advancement, carrying instruments designed to study cosmic phenomena and potentially make first contact with other civilizations. Moore pressed a button on his desk. "Get me the Secretary General. We need to inform the Security Council." 3 months later, the Haelor Border Patrol intercepted another probe. This time, Admiral Vorn personally oversaw its destruction. "Sir," Lieutenant Trell ventured nervously, "intelligence suggests these probes may be coming from the same source. Perhaps we should capture one for study." "Unnecessary," Vorn replied. "These primitive devices pose no threat. Their destruction serves as adequate deterrent." What the Haelor didn't understand was that humanity didn't need the probes to return. The data had already been transmitted, and with each destroyed probe, the picture became clearer. 1 year after the first incident, Director Moore stood before the United Earth Security Council in Geneva. "Ladies and gentlemen, we now have confirmation. The entity destroying our probes is an interstellar civilization we're calling the Haelor Empire, based on communications we've intercepted. They control approximately 12 star systems and possess technology significantly advanced beyond our own." The room erupted in murmurs until the Secretary General raised her hand for silence. "What are your recommendations, Director?" Moore activated a holographic display showing a 3-dimensional map. "We've determined their patrol patterns and governance structure through the data transmitted by our probes before destruction. Their technology is impressive but not incomprehensible. Most importantly, they've shown a critical weakness: arrogance." He continued, "The Haelor are destroying our probes without examining them. They believe us to be primitives, incapable of being a threat. This gives us an unprecedented opportunity." "For what?" asked the representative from India. "To prepare," Moore answered simply. "Every probe they destroy contains our latest scanning technology. With each destruction, we learn more about their weapons, their shields, their communications. We're essentially conducting reconnaissance through sacrifice." The Chinese representative leaned forward. "You're suggesting we continue sending probes, knowing they'll be destroyed?" "Exactly," Moore nodded, "but with modifications. Each new probe carries slightly more advanced technology, transmitting data faster and more comprehensively before destruction. Meanwhile, we accelerate our defensive and propulsion research based on what we're learning." "How long until they realize what we're doing?" asked the American representative. Moore's expression hardened. "Based on their communication patterns and behavior, They may never realize it. The Haelor have been the dominant species in their region for so long they've become complacent. They don't even bother to analyze what they're destroying. 5 years later, Admiral Vorn was summoned to the Imperial Palace on Haelor Prime. The Emperor was not pleased. "Explain to me," the Emperor said, voice dangerously low, "how a supposedly primitive species has managed to establish outposts in 3 systems bordering our territory in the span of a single orbital cycle?" Vorn knelt, all 4 eyes downcast. "Your Magnificence, our intelligence indicates they developed unexpectedly fast. The humans." "Humans?" the Emperor interrupted. "Yes, I've been briefed. The same humans whose pathetic probes you've been destroying without authorization to study them." "They were simple scientific instruments," Vorn protested weakly. The Emperor activated a hologram showing a human vessel. Its design incorporated elements clearly inspired by Haelor technology. "Were they? Our scientists have finally analyzed debris from your latest interception. Those simple probes contained sophisticated sensors specifically calibrated to study our technology. With each destruction, you provided them with more data." Vorn's skin paled. "That's impossible. They couldn't have." "They did." The Emperor cut him off. "While you were blindly following protocol, these humans were sacrificing technology to gain knowledge. Now they've developed ships with capabilities approaching our own and established diplomatic relations with 3 of our rival powers." The Emperor stood, looming over the Admiral. "The humans sent a message today. They're proposing a diplomatic summit to establish formal relations with the Haelor Empire. They included detailed specifications of their latest defensive capabilities as a gesture of transparency." Vorn finally understood the magnitude of his error. What he had dismissed as primitive intrusions had been calculated sacrifices in a game he didn't even know was being played. The humans weren't just coming. They had already arrived, armed with knowledge gleaned from the very weapons that destroyed their probes. And all because the mighty Haelor Empire couldn't be bothered to study what they so casually destroyed. Sometimes, the most dangerous enemy is the one you underestimate.